In this video, we're going to look at picking up the gusset stitches for the STAVANGER stocking. I've knit the stitches across the bottom of my heel using my original needle, and now I'm going to take a double pointed needle and pick up the stitches along this edge of my heel flap. So I'm going to insert that double pointed needle through each of the stitches along the edge of my heel flap. And your pattern will tell you how many stitches to look for. If you need to make an extra stitch in the corner, that is just fine. But you should have a series of stitches here along the edge of your heel flap, and then you're going to look for that last right leaning row of stitches below the corner that's created between your heel flap and the stitches that go across the foot of the stocking. So I'm going to pick up these 3 stitches that are closest to that corner from the right leaning row. There's going to be a left leaning row above it, but you're looking for the ones that lean right. Now from here we're going to knit those stitches. So we've picked them up and I'm going to knit them, but you can kind of test out, if I were to knit through the back loop, that would create a big hole at the edge of my heel flap. So I'm going to knit through the front loop, and that's going to twist the stitch. So I'm going to continue to do that, twisting these stitches to close any gaps that might pop up here at the edge of this heel flap where I've picked up my stitches. So I'm going to continue to do that all the way along these stitches that I've picked up along the heel flap. And once I get to the end of those, I'll show you here. We'll go down to these 3 stitches that we've picked up in that last right leaning row, and I'm going to knit those through the back loop because we don't want to twist these stitches. Because they're right leaning, if I knit through the back loop, they're going to remain untwisted. And now I'm going to just speed through knitting across the stitches in pattern across the foot. And then we'll look at the other side of the heel and how we pick up those stitches across the heel flap on that side. It's very similar to what we've just done. Okay, now coming up to that last set of stitches on the foot, I'm going to knit those 2 together, and then I'm going to slip this last stitch knitwise so that it leans the same way as the other stitches I've just done. Now I'm going to pick up 3 stitches from the last right slanting row right below the corner where the heel flap meets the foot of my stocking. And now I will pick up the one leg to the outside of each of these stitches along the heel flap as well. And again, your pattern will tell you how many stitches to look for. And here, whereas on the other side they were leaning to the right, on this side of the stocking they're leaning left, so we're going to knit them a little differently. But first we start out with these 3 stitches below the corner, and those again we knit through the back loop so as not to twist those stitches. So they still lean right. And now if I were to knit these stitches normally, I would create a large gap by knitting them normally. So I'm going to knit through the back loop of each of these stitches, and that's because they are left leaning as you look at them on the needle. So we'll just knit through the back of each loop, and that's going to twist all of these stitches and close any gaps along the edge of the heel flap. And then most patterns will tell you to knit half of these stitches across your heel to get to the next start of round. So that's the same here in the stocking. So we'll just knit half of those stitches and place our start of round stitch marker.